And then is that distributed evenly amongst people? The ability to be creative. It seems like so many are trapped in the economic and political machine.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, if you're hungry, you can't be too concerned about meaning. If you've got to pay the bills, you got to pay the bills. But that goes back to the whole Abraham Maslow and his hierarchy of needs. I mean, all these questions of cosmological significance are a luxury at the end of the day, because it assumes that you were able to feed yourself for breakfast and that you're not dying of some horrific physical ailment. I mean, certainly, I think in some ways, that's why certain parts of the world, maybe that are less wealthy, actually report higher incidences of life satisfaction in some bizarre way. And it's because, like you're busy doing your thing, you're going to work, and you don't have time to ask these profound questions. So certainly...
don't have the toxicity of some of the other things.
Yeah, but the point is, I think these questions are only going to become more relevant because technological advances and development across the world continues to pull hundreds of millions of people out of poverty all the time. There's this emerging global middle class that is becoming more aspirational and thus is more concerned with meaning, or increasingly will be, and eventually they're going to hit the rock of the privileged, which is what happens when you get everything you want. What happens when you get all the money? What happens when you get the one you loved? And then you realize that's it. The game is over. Actually, Jordan Peterson talks about that really brilliantly. He talks about the importance of the noble aim, and this is something that really resonated with me. He says the noble aim is something that you want to move towards and you want to organize your life around, but you never actually want to attain it. Because if you attain it, the game is over. That's the problem. You want to be moving towards it and always have it just beyond your grasp so that it orients you and it gives you a map of meaning and it gives you a sort of purpose and an orientation, and a compass, so to speak. But, life is not in getting what you want. Life is about fighting for meaning. And it's a lesson that we seem to be learning over and over and over again. When you got that toy in the toy store, when you graduated from middle school, when you got that degree, when you got the job, when you got the car, it doesn't satiate us,
And these are short-term goals, and then we get to the next goal. Maybe whatever the long-term goal ends up being, it is to continuously be creative in the world. So maybe things like automation and AI, whatever ends up happening in the future, will enable more people to be creative over time.
Well, the problem of meaning is not going away, right? I think I've read some reports that really developed societies like in Scandinavia and all these places where socioeconomic anxiety is minimal and it's a very egalitarian society and people have most of what they want. They have all these social cushions, but nonetheless the problem of suicide and all this kind of stuff is really fucked up. And I think that the problem of meaning is going to be more and more a problem even as we become wealthier as a society potentially. And the guy Yuval Harari, who wrote *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*.
Literally the best book.
He says he wrote an article about finding meaning in life in an age without work. Because his prediction is that our worst fears about technological automation robbing us of our jobs, but also of our life purpose and meaning, is a very real thing. And now, on the optimistic front, yes, increasing advances, exponential advances in technology and artificial intelligence and all these things will eventually create a world where people don't have to work, where the AIs will be able to take care of most of what everybody needs. But it's going to leave all this empty space in people's lives. And so what are we going to do to fill that space, And he says that we're actually going to probably fill that space in video games, virtual reality.
Virtual realities.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He says that we already give meaning to our lives with virtual realities, such as culture, identity, religion, your name. I mean, these are not biological truths. These are cultural, virtual realities, and nonetheless we use them to fill our lives with meaning and purpose, supposedly. So he predicts that in the future, virtual reality systems will be fully immersive, indistinguishable from the real, and we will be able to lose ourselves in those worlds and undergo the kind of mythological heroes' journeys that Joseph Campbell vividly writes about, or that our favorite films beautifully map out. I mean, wouldn't you want to be Neo in The Matrix and fucking rock it out forever? I think that...
You're in an 80-year one right now.
I'm in a what?
You're in an 80-year virtual reality experiment right now.
Potentially, if this is all a simulation, as your event postulates.
But then you get to design your own virtual worlds, and you get to tweak and play with the different variables and enter them. And
look, there's no doubt. I think that the tragedy of the human situation is that we are these exquisite, sensitive, thoughtful artists and poets, who have the capacity to imagine so much and to dream so much, and either A, we don't have the opportunity to express that beauty, that ecstasy, that yearning because of economic reasons, but also because of physiological reasons. Maybe you had to work most of your life and then you got an illness, when you were 25,
You studied philosophy, and that really put you into a point of where you were at when you were in your 20s, and other people don't study philosophy and they're working lots of jobs, and so that also makes potentially less creative beings.
Yes, I studied philosophy because I was lucky. I had a mother who was an artist who kind of encouraged me to do what I loved. But I'm aware that that's a privilege, for sure. Yeah.
The more that we can mold these minds into the world to understand what you're teaching right now about the existential bummer, I think more people will seek that creative unleashing into the world.
I hope so.